What is going on, Internet? Today we are talking about adding consistency to your serve. Every single point starts with the serve, so obviously this is a pretty big deal if you're double faulting a ton, or if you're just feeling like, man, I'm scared to swing out because I just keep missing. This is the video for you.
Especially for you guys out there that you're like, man, I hit one huge ace and then I miss 99% of all my first serves, right? Like we're talking about how to build the consistency on your first serve, so we don't want to lose a ton of MPH, and a lot of this has to do with your contact point and how you're loading. Let's jump into the first tip now. So the first thing we have to talk about when we're talking about consistency is the toss. And I know the toss gets kind of boring. There's 1,000 videos on the toss. But what we're actually going to talk about is the location of the toss. Now, on your first serve, more than likely, you're trying to hit a flat serve. You're trying to create a powerful serve that gives you a free point, maybe an ace or a forced error. But a lot of times when we're doing this, we're tossing too far out into the court. And when we toss too far out in the court, a lot of times our body collapses. And what I mean by that is if you imagine like the Invisible Man kicking me in the tummy, right, that folding chair complex, things start to collapse as we reach out into the court. Now, if you've got boosters, if you're Nick Kyrgios and you're making that big jump to where you're making the contact out into the court, totally fine. But for most recreational players, that's just not realistic. So where should we be tossing? Our contact point is only going to be as far as our arm extends out into the court. So as the ball goes up, my contact point will be roughly where my arm extends. It doesn't need to be much further than that. And most of the time, if you focus on releasing with your arm all the way out, the ball will list back to you. And that's a good thing. I know you're thinking, well, that sounds like a kick serve, Nate. If the ball was going all the way back and your racket was moving parallel to the baseline, it would be some topspin, it'd be a kicker. But we want to exaggerate this because a lot of us are just making contact way out here as opposed to back here. Focus on allowing the arm to extend out, drop the ball, that's where you want to make sure that you extend, and then exaggerate it and get the ball back to you so that you're making that contact out in front, all right? And that's going to start eliminating serves that are going into the net. You see, if the serve is going into the net, more things are going wrong than right. A lot of coaches have been saying that for a lot of years. It's 100% correct. If you're hitting the ball into the net, you never even have a chance to get the point started. If you're hitting long, heck, who knows, maybe they missed the call. But there's very small corrections that are going to take place in order to get the ball inside the box if the problem is that you're hitting long.
So the second thing we want to correct here is actually a common myth we see a lot of players buy into, and that myth is that you're supposed to actually hit down on the ball. A lot of coaches will tell you to snap your wrist, and this gets misinterpreted by players that we're supposed to snap our wrist down on the ball, and that is not at all what is happening. You're actually going to hit the ball on the chin. So when you make contact, your contact will be flush, meaning almost perpendicular to the ground, but your approach to the ball, what creates pronation in that wrist snap that you hear coaches talking about, is swinging up. A lot of coaches will say you're going to throw the ball, and again, this gets misinterpreted as you're going to throw it like a pitch. It is like throwing a ball, but it's like throwing a Hail Mary up to the ceiling. So think about your racket as a football that you're going to throw up towards the ceiling. As that happens, when you make contact, you can see I'm leading up to the ball, hitting it on the chin, but then at actual contact, flush, turnover, pronation. So that's what we're looking to achieve here. Dispel that myth that you're supposed to hit down on the ball, hit that thing right on the chin, and flush contact. So just in case you're not buying into this concept, take a look at me serving from my knees. I know a lot of people are saying, well, yeah, of course this works for your 6'3". Well, what if I was 4'3"? If I'm 4'3" here on my knees, you'll see it's very clear that even though I'm actually hitting a pretty big serve from my knees, I'm making contact with the chin of the ball swinging up. And that pronation comes as if my racket is traveling up and over a mountain. For those of you who are missing in the net a lot, this is probably what's missing. You're thinking about swinging down or throwing forwards instead of swinging up or throwing the Hail Mary.
The third piece that might be causing inconsistency on your first serve is that you're getting too much weight loaded on the front foot. And this is really, really common. So whether your platform or your feet aren't coming together, still as the toss lifts into the court, we get the weight too early to the front foot. Or if you're pinpoint, where you're bringing the back foot up, most of us are putting too much weight on the front foot. And the reason this is a problem is that when we initiate the kinetic chain, as we push back with our right foot, this is in fact loading the knee and then the back hip. And this is really getting that cartwheel effect. So we want to make sure that we're getting a lot of weight on that back foot as well as the front foot, right? You really want to make sure that you're loading both properly. So a great exercise to do that, there's a series of these, but if you're really trying to work on kind of the cadence, this rhythm of how you work into the court, start off by pitching. And that is just like what it sounds. As you work through your motion, pull your left foot as a righty, so for me, my non-dominant foot, pull the foot up and then pitch, all right? And don't worry a lot about where the ball goes, just pull the foot up and pitch, all right? And what that's gonna do is it's gonna force you to get weight on your back foot and then come forward, okay? We see a lot of pros warming up with this, Federer, Kyrgios, to name a few, but this is a great way to get that rhythm that you're looking for on the serve. The next progression of this is serving only off of your right foot and then landing on the left. Sticking the landing is really important because it's offering this counterbalance. As you come through and finish on the non-dominant foot and the back foot kicks back, it's giving you that full transfer of weight, giving you the cartwheel effect, all right? So for you righties, you're landing on your left. For your lefties, you're landing on the right. So what the exercise looks like is I'm going to start on my right foot. I'm going to pick the foot up, my front foot up, my left foot. And then from here, I'm going to land on the left. So now it's a big exaggeration. I know it probably looks funky, but if you can just get used to where you're transferring that weight, you can start figuring out what the counterbalance is. And the next part is just shadow it. Go through your service motion. You can even start from the power position and just shadow working through it and then getting that front foot down and the back foot up. And do it until you're comfortable, until finally you're ready to hit some serves. All right, guys, so in summary, number one, make sure you're paying attention to the location of your toss. If it's too far out into the court, you're going to be hitting down on the ball, and you're not going to have any chance whatsoever for any serve consistency on that first serve.
That's right, and dispelling that same myth is number two. Make sure you're hitting the ball on the chin. You're swinging up as if you're throwing a football Hail Mary, not a baseball pitch.
And then number three, make sure you're focused on loading on the back leg. A lot of us, whether it's because of our serve cadence or rhythm, we end up using too much of the front foot on the serve motion, and then we're just ending up hitting at the improper plane, hitting down. Use the drills that we showed you to learn how to properly load that back leg.
That's right, guys. That'll make your serve more consistent. Stop hitting the net, stop double faulting, generate that serve reliability. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for watching. We'll see ya.